There have been many Assassin's Creed games over the years, each one different from the other, and in this video we're going to highlight this by going through every title that has been released, giving you one fact about each. The first installment to the franchise was Assassin's Creed, but I bet you didn't know that this whole franchise was made by accident. Before Assassin's Creed, Ubisoft was working on a title called Prince of Persia, where you were a prince's bodyguard. However, Ubisoft ended up being unhappy with this idea. They didn't like the general branding of a prince, and the game instead became Assassin's Creed. This is where the series was born. With the success following after Assassin's Creed, Prince of Persia has just been killed off. It's been gone for years. There has been talks of a remake of its best title, The Sands of Time. However, this has supposedly been in development for years, whilst there's also rumours that it's been cancelled. But either way, AC fans should be happy with Prince of Persia, because if Ubisoft didn't take it on and didn't iterate from it, we wouldn't have Assassin's Creed today. Assassin's Creed 2. Assassin's Creed 2 is one of the fewer Assassin's Creed titles that gives you somewhat of unlimited freedom. What I mean by this is that there's no restrictions with you having a stamina bar or any type of XP system to unlock more skills and abilities, or even you just having to build up to eventually have a special ability. During combat, there's only a certain amount of times that you can dodge and use heavy attacks on more recent games where your stamina bar is completely depleted. In Assassin's Creed 2, this simply isn't the case. You're able to stay in combat and sprint around the map with no concerns about stamina. Obviously, this is an older game and it probably wasn't intended to be this way, it was unrealistic to keep on adding additional features during this time. But it would be interesting to see how different the gameplay would be in Assassin's Creed 2 if something such as a stamina bar was implemented into general free roam and combat. As the years went on and Ubisoft added more and more features to the franchise, there was a lot of cool gameplay mechanics that were added, but also there were restrictions in certain ways to make it so that you wasn't as overpowered. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. In Brotherhood, there is an achievement called Principessa in Another Castello. This is a story-related achievement, involves killing Malfatto and Silvestro Sabatini, meeting Leonardo da Vinci and completing his mission. Once you say goodbye to Caterina in the tower, you'll unlock this achievement. This achievement is actually a reference to the Super Mario Bros. Series. Principessa in Another Castello is referencing "Thank you Mario, but our princess is in another castle." This is said by Toad in Super Mario Bros. This was actually a pretty cool Easter egg from Ubisoft, and it was done in a way that is still pretty uncommon to find. They also do this again with a second achievement, the achievement Grand Theft Dressage. For this achievement, you need to find 5 riders on horseback and kill them all in a row without you being dismounted from your horse. This achievement is actually referenced, if you could actually guess, to Grand Theft Auto series, with Grand Theft being seen in both the popular trilogy and the name of the achievement. Assassin's Creed Revelations. Revelations wasn't actually meant to exist. At the time in 2011, Nintendo 3DS was an extremely popular console. This was a time when handheld consoles were very popular and seen as the future of gaming. Ubisoft wanted to release a game for Nintendo. In terms of hardware, the Nintendo 3DS wasn't very powerful at all. This meant that they couldn't just release the same game on both PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and Nintendo. Ubisoft began creating a Nintendo exclusive called Assassin's Creed Lost Legacy. This was even announced at Nintendo's E3 2010. 3 months later, it was cancelled. Ubisoft's chief financial officer, Elaine Martinez, stated that Ubisoft felt the console already had enough hardcore games. The story of Assassin's Creed Lost Legacy revolved around Ezio visiting Masyaf. The idea of Lost Legacy evolved into Assassin's Creed Revelations, which was then pushed to PC, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. Assassin's Creed 3. AC3 had the biggest advancements compared from previous titles. The game was introduced as a vast open world with many different areas to explore. The world felt alive and well, the NPCs were perfectly designed and they each had their own lives to live. This made the game feel immersive, and we can't forget the massive improvements to parkour, detection, and stealth. Across all boards, there was many improvements. There was also many activities such as random encounters and side quests to find around the world of AC3. And if all of that wasn't enough, they also introduced animals. Animals where you can track, find them, and hunt them down. All of these features played a massive part within AC3, but also the rest of the Assassin's Creed franchise. This was the point in which Ubisoft really felt that the bigger, the better. The more content that they could provide, the better their game will be. Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Black Flag continues to be one of the most popular storylines within Assassin's Creed. It's up there with the trilogy with AC2, Brotherhood and Revelations. With Black Flag, it was set within the pirate era, so it was important for Ubisoft to ensure that the game was historically accurate and that the story worked well with that era. But they didn't just get this story out of nowhere. They took inspiration from two main books. The first book was the General History of Pirates. This provided Ubisoft with a solid historical foundation for the game to use. It also uses a German style of capitalizing all nouns, which Ubisoft used in the game's subtitles. The other book was The Republic of Pirates. This helped Ubisoft to design the hub town, which in real life is Nassau. Nassau was actually a famous stopping point for pirates. Colin Woodward, the author of The Republic of Pirates, became aware that Ubisoft were taking so much influence for his book that he actually asked to join the development team to make the game more accurate. Assassin's Creed Rogue. Rogue was the game that didn't gain as much traction and generally had a quieter release. The game was pushed to PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 at the exact same time in which PlayStation 4 and Xbox One was released. The reason that Ubisoft didn't want to push this title to the newer consoles was because there was still a bit of an overlap. A lot of the AC fans from those previous gen consoles have not yet crossed over. So Rogue, which had a very limited budget, was there to occupy fans of the previous titles whilst they get the next lot of titles ready for the next gen consoles. Because of such a low budget with Rogue, the developers had to end up reusing assets from Assassin's Creed Black Flag. But with all of this, they still included many features requested by fans, such as being able to play as a Templar. And overall, despite the setbacks with it being on previous gen consoles, a lower budget, which meant they weren't able to hire as many developers, and those developers weren't allowed to go and put in the exact same amount of time, and they also had to go and reuse a lot of assets because of this, they still delivered a brilliant game. Assassin's Creed Unity. Unity was the first title within the series that was developed for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. This gave Ubisoft a lot to work with. It meant that the open world could be very detailed and the graphics can be improved. Not only that, but it meant that buildings could be larger and there could be more to explore within them, as the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One has hardware capabilities to allow for those features to be implemented easily. All of this is great, but it also increased the amount of time that was needed in development. It took Ubisoft more than 2 years by itself just to go and work on the in-game Notre Dame Cathedral. The senior level artists had to work with historians to make sure it stayed as true and as realistic as possible. Much of the art, however, in the cathedral, including the stained glass windows, was protected under copyright law, so none of it could be used. Instead, Ubisoft made their own interpretations and eventually it could be explored. Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Syndicate is located in London. This means that it includes iconic locations such as Westminster Hall. Inside it, you'll hear a reference to insult sword marking from the Monkey Island series. When entering, you can overhear a man arguing with a woman who will say, "You fight like a dairy farmer," in which the woman will respond by saying, "How appropriate that I fight like a dairy farmer because you fight like a cow." We saw in previous games that Ubisoft liked to reference other popular franchises, and it's nice to see that they continue to do so in Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Assassin's Creed Origins. When a popular new game releases, a lot of collectibles and general merchandise releases alongside it. Merchandise can be a major source of revenue for video game companies. People like being able to present their passion for games in different ways, other than just playing the game itself. This was no different with Assassin's Creed Origins, and many would consider that it was taken to the extreme. Audio company Focal, together with French jeweler Tonnerre, produced a set of 18-karat Bluetooth gold headphones selling for €50,000 to tie in with the game's release. The headphones were sold exclusively by Tonnerre and their Paris boutique, and also come displayed with a bronze bust of Bayek. With merchandise within the Assassin's Creed franchise, we have seen nothing like this since. Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Odyssey is one of the latest games in the franchise. This means that it includes a massive open world with loads to explore. Something that makes Assassin's Creed Odyssey unique from the modern open world games is the islands. There are many islands to explore, but there's one that stands out. At the top of the island in Pandora's Cove in Malice, there is a small circle of rocks, referencing puzzles to find hidden Koroks found in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Once again, Ubisoft are referencing another popular series, which is awesome to see. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was released at a similar time to Odyssey, so it's nice to see that Ubisoft appreciating other popular video games at the exact same time. Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Valhalla is set in the Viking era, and just like most of Ubisoft's titles with Assassin's Creed, they've always tried to be historically accurate. In Valhalla, Eivor is tasked to conquer or at least gain allies all over England. By the end of the game, Eivor will have conquered most of England, which actually mirrors the time in which Vikings held control of most of London, until the English claimed the territory back. Despite what hardcore fans think of more recent Assassin's Creed titles, they still remain to be historically accurate. And there is one interesting fact about every Assassin's Creed title. If you have any more facts that you know about your favorite title within a series, then please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed watching through this video, then I highly recommend watching our next video. Our next video will go through the worst thing about each Assassin's Creed title, similar to this one, but highlighting all the downsides to the franchise. That video is now on screen now, so click that and I'll be over there to guide you through the worst things about each Assassin's Creed.